The Arcturian Empire had ruled nearly three-quarters of the known galaxy for over 4,000 years. Their dominance was unquestioned, their technological superiority assumed. So when unusual signals were detected from an unremarkable yellow star in a spiral arm of little importance, Admiral Tak dispatched only a single scout vessel. Captain Jum of the Imperial Scout Vessel Eternal Light approached the third planet with standard caution protocols. His sensor officer, Lieutenant Hana, confirmed the readings. Life signs are abundant, Captain. Artificial satellites in orbit. Primitive nuclear fission technology. No detected faster-than-light capabilities. June nodded. Another developing world for the records. Let's follow standard protocol. The Eternal Light moved into position above Earth's largest satellite and targeted an unmanned space station. The destruction would serve as the customary demonstration of power before formal subjugation proceedings. Lieutenant Hana's console suddenly erupted with alerts. Captain. Energy readings spiking from the planet's surface. Before June could respond, the scout ship shields were struck by weapons far beyond Earth's apparent technological level. The Eternal Light barely escaped into hyperspace, its hull scorched and systems damaged. Impossible, June whispered as they fled. They shouldn't have been capable. The bridge fell silent as emergency systems blared. Red warning lights bathed the crew in an ominous glow. Captain June gripped his command chair, his knuckles white. Damage report, he ordered, his voice steadier than he felt. Lieutenant Hana's fingers danced across her console. Hull integrity at 68%. Shield generators 2 and 4 completely offline. Main power fluctuating. June turned to his navigation officer. How far are we from the nearest Imperial outpost? 3 days at our current speed, Captain. Engine damage has reduced our hyperspace efficiency. The captain closed his eyes briefly. 3 days. 3 days to consider what had just happened. 3 days to determine how to explain this failure to Admiral Tak. Lieutenant Hana, what exactly hit us? June asked. Hana shook her head in disbelief as she analyzed the readings. Some kind of focused plasma weapon. Captain, the energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. That's not possible, said the weapons officer, Sue. Their technological level indicated basic rocket propulsion and crude satellite systems. They shouldn't have plasma weapons for at least another 2 centuries. June stood and walked to the main view screen, which now displayed their flight path away from the yellow star. Play back the sensor logs from the moment we detected the energy spike. The screen shifted to show Earth, a blue-green marble against the blackness of space. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then, a brief flash from the planet's northern hemisphere. The energy readings spiked dramatically. Freeze there, June ordered. Enhance that region. The image zoomed in on a landmass. The flash had come from what appeared to be a small research facility nestled in a mountain range. How did they detect us? June wondered aloud. Our cloaking systems should have been beyond their ability to penetrate. The science officer, Min, spoke up. Perhaps they weren't targeting us specifically, Captain. They might have been protecting their space station. June considered this. Even so, the response time was too quick, and the weapon technology. He trailed off, troubled by the implications. The communications officer cleared his throat. Captain, we need to send a preliminary report to Imperial Command. June nodded slowly. Yes. But what do we tell them? That a pre-spacefaring civilization somehow detected our cloaked vessel and deployed advanced energy weapons against us. The Empire will want to know about this anomaly, Min said. These humans appear to be developing along an unusual technological path. June returned to his chair. Lieutenant Hana, prepare a full sensor analysis of the weapon that struck us. Sue, I want a comparative analysis with all known weapons in our database. Min, analyze everything we recorded about their communication systems and technology level. The bridge crew set to work immediately, understanding the gravity of their discovery. June stared at the slowly rotating image of Earth on the view screen. Something was very wrong about this planet. Either the initial survey had been grossly inaccurate, or these humans possessed capabilities that defied normal developmental patterns. "Captain," Hannah called out, her voice tense. "I've detected something else in the sensor logs. Just before we were hit, there was a massive data scan directed at our ship. They downloaded portions of our technical database." June felt a chill run through him. "Are you certain?" "Yes, Captain. It was brief but extensive. They accessed information about our shield configurations, weapon systems, and propulsion technology. The implications were staggering. Not only had these supposedly primitive humans detected and attacked them, but they had also stolen Imperial technology data. If they could understand and implement that knowledge." "Set course for Imperial Command," Jun ordered, his decision made. "Maximum sustainable speed. This can't wait 3 days. The Council needs to know immediately." As the Eternal Light adjusted course, limping through hyperspace with its damaged engines, Captain Jun drafted his report. How could he explain that a species still confined to their home planet had not only repelled an Imperial vessel, but potentially gained access to advanced technology? The Empire had encountered thousands of developing civilizations, but none like these humans. What made them different? What had they discovered that allowed them to leapfrog centuries of technological development? Whatever the answer, one thing was becoming clear to Captain Jun. The Empire had just discovered either its greatest potential ally or its most dangerous enemy. Science Director Day stood before the Imperial Council, her expression grave. "The humans of Earth don't follow normal technological progression patterns. Our delegation observed them for 60 standard days, disguised as peaceful envoys." Emperor Jin leaned forward. "Explain." "Their neural architecture is unique. When threatened, their brains form connections at rates impossible for other species. They can conceptualize, innovate, and implement at speeds we've never witnessed." The holographic display showed humans working frantically in laboratories, their primitive equipment rapidly evolving with each passing day. "They detected our surveillance efforts within weeks," Dai continued. "By the time we withdrew, they had already begun reverse engineering components from our communication probes." Admiral Tak scoffed. "They're still contained to one system. We can crush them before they become a genuine threat." Dai's eyes reflected both admiration and fear. "I'm not certain that's possible anymore." The council chamber fell silent. 7 of the Empire's most powerful leaders sat around the curved table, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of the holographic display. Emperor Jin's golden robes caught the light as he stood and walked closer to examine the images of humans at work. "Show me the evidence," he commanded. Dai nodded and gestured. The display changed to show a timeline of human technological development. "This was their level when first contacted," she said, pointing to simple satellites and rocket systems. "And this is where they are now, just 60 days later." The display showed sleek vessels with energy shields and what appeared to be primitive versions of Imperial weapons technology. "Impossible," murmured High Counselor Ban. "No species develops this quickly." "That's what makes them unique," Dai replied. She touched another control, and a new image appeared, a scan of a human brain. Our medical teams secretly obtained brain scans from 5 human subjects. Their neural plasticity is unlike anything we've documented in over 4,000 years of galactic exploration. She pointed to areas lighting up in the scan. When faced with a problem or threat, their brains create new neural pathways almost instantly. What would take us years of dedicated research, they can accomplish in days or even hours. Admiral Tak stood up abruptly. "This is precisely why we must strike immediately. If they can advance this rapidly in 60 days, what will they achieve in 6 months or a year?" Science Director Dai shook her head. "That's the problem, Admiral. Our models suggest that direct military action would only accelerate their development. The greater the threat, the faster they innovate." The room filled with murmurs of concern. Emperor Jin raised his hand, and silence fell immediately. "Tell us about your surveillance. How were they able to detect it? He asked. Day's expression tightened. That was perhaps our most troubling discovery. We used our most advanced cloaking technology on our observation drones. Technology that has successfully monitored 17 other civilizations without detection. She played a recording that showed a human researcher suddenly looking up at what appeared to be empty air, then calling others over. Within days, they had constructed devices that could reveal the invisible drones. They don't just copy technology, Dad explained. They improve upon it. By the time we recalled our drones, 3 had been captured. This was from their research facility, 2 days after capture. The display showed humans dismantling a drone, carefully cataloging each component. High Counselor Ban leaned forward. Do they know who we are? Have they identified the Empire? We don't believe so, Day replied. But they know they're not alone, and they know they're being watched. That seems to be enough to trigger their advancement response. Admiral Tech pounded his fist on the table. Enough of this. They are one planet against our empire of 10,000 worlds. We can overwhelm them with sheer numbers if necessary. Day turned to face him directly. With respect, Admiral, our simulations suggest otherwise. Each ship we lose would provide them with more technology to adapt and improve upon. Even if we succeeded, the cost would be enormous. What do you propose instead? Emperor Jin asked quietly. Day took a deep breath. Something unprecedented. Diplomatic contact. The council erupted in protests. The Empire did not negotiate with pre-spacefaring civilizations. It was one of their oldest protocols. Hear me out, Dai continued when the noise subsided. Their adaptability makes them unique. If we approach them as equals rather than conquerors, we might redirect their innovation toward peaceful cooperation, or give them time to become even more dangerous, Tak countered. Emperor Jin studied the images of humans working in their laboratories. His 4,000 years of rule had been marked by expansion and subjugation. Not once had he considered a primitive species to be worthy of diplomatic relations. You admire them, he said to Da. It wasn't a question. Day nodded slowly. I do, Your Majesty. Their potential is extraordinary. They could become our greatest allies or our most formidable enemies. The choice we make today will determine which. Emperor Jin returned to his seat, his face unreadable. We will deliberate on this matter. Science Director Day, prepare detailed reports on all possible approaches, diplomatic and military. As the council members filed out, Day remained behind, watching the holographic images of humans working with tireless determination. In her 60 days of observation, she had come to a troubling conclusion she hadn't shared with the council. The humans weren't just adapting to external threats. They were preparing for them. Somehow, they knew more was coming, and they were getting ready. All ships, assume attack formation. Admiral Tak commanded from the bridge of the Imperial Fist *. Behind his flagship, 300 warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Preliminary scans show significant defensive installations around the third planet, reported Commander Sung. Their technological advancement has accelerated dramatically since our last observation. Tak grimaced. It doesn't matter. No species goes from planetary confinement to rivaling imperial might in less than a year. On Earth, Defense Coordinator Lee watched the approaching armada on the holographic display. Around him, the United Earth Command worked with practiced efficiency. All gravity distortion arrays online, his assistant Minna confirmed. Project Singularity is ready. Lee took a deep breath. They've given us no choice. Prepare to engage. The massive Imperial fleet spread into a wide formation, thousands of weapon ports glowing with charged energy. Admiral Tak stood tall on the command platform of the Imperial Fist *, his posture rigid with confidence. The view screen before him showed Earth, a blue jewel in the darkness of space. 300 of our finest chips against a single planet of upstarts, he said. This will be recorded as nothing more than a footnote in Imperial history. Commander Sung approached with a datapad. "Admiral, our long-range scans have completed. The humans have established defensive platforms at key orbital positions. They appear to be powered by an energy source we cannot identify." Tak took the pad and studied it briefly before handing it back. "Unknown technology does not mean superior technology. Begin the first wave attack. Destroy their orbital platforms." "Yes, Admiral." Sung relayed the orders. 50 destroyer-class vessels broke from the main fleet, accelerating toward Earth. Their sleek, dark hulls reflected no light as they moved in perfect formation. On Earth, Defense Coordinator Lee watched the approaching destroyers with a calm that belied the gravity of the situation. The command center was buried deep underground, its walls lined with screens showing different aspects of the coming battle. "They're sending their faster ships first," Minna observed. "Standard Imperial tactics. Eliminate defensive positions before committing the main fleet." Lee nodded. "And they expect us to reveal our capabilities in defense of those platforms." He touched his communication device. "All stations maintain stealth protocols. Let them come closer." The Imperial destroyers approached the first line of Earth's orbital platforms. The platforms appeared simple, little more than satellites with minimal defensive capabilities. "In range," reported the weapons officer on the lead destroyer. "Targeting first platform." "Fire," ordered the captain. Energy beams lanced out, striking the platform. It exploded in a satisfying burst of debris. "Too easy," the captain muttered. "Continue to the next targets." The destroyers moved forward, methodically destroying each platform they encountered. On the asterisk Imperial Fist asterisk, Admiral Tak watched with satisfaction. "No resistance," Sung noted. "Perhaps our intelligence overestimated their progress." Tak's eyes narrowed. "Or they're waiting for something." Status of their planetary defenses. "Still active, but not engaging. They have energy readings consistent with weapons charging, but they haven't fired." The Admiral considered this. "Order the destroyers to maintain distance after clearing the orbital platforms. I want a closer scan of their planetary defense grid before committing the main fleet." In the Earth Command Center, Lee watched as the last of their decoy platforms was destroyed. His officers looked to him expectantly. "Now?" asked Minna. Lee's finger hovered over the activation control. "Not yet. Let them think they've won this round. I want their main fleet committed." Minutes stretched into an hour as the Imperial destroyers completed their sweep of Earth's orbit. Finding no further resistance, they moved back to rejoin the main fleet. "Orbital defenses neutralized," Admiral reported Sung. "Their planetary shields remain active, but have not expanded beyond the atmosphere." Tak smiled thinly. As expected, a developing species might achieve some technological leaps, but coordinated space combat is an art refined over centuries. He straightened his uniform. "All ships, advance. Target their major population centers and military installations. Show them the consequence of defying the Empire." The massive Imperial armada began moving toward Earth, weapon systems fully charged. 300 ships, each capable of devastating an entire continent, arranged in battle formation. Deep in the Earth Command Center, alarms sounded as the fleet approached. "They're coming in full force," Minna reported. "All ships showing weapons hot." Lee nodded. "They think us weak and uncoordinated." He pressed the communication panel. "All defense stations, final checks. On my mark, we show them how humanity responds to threats." The first wave of Imperial cruisers entered medium range, their weapon ports glowing brightly as they prepared to fire. Admiral Tak stood proudly on his bridge, already composing the victory speech in his mind. "Sir," Sung called out suddenly, "we're detecting energy spikes from the debris fields." "What debris fields?" Tak demanded. "The destroyed platforms, sir. They're not debris anymore." The fragments of the destroyed orbital platforms began to move, drawing together like metal to a magnet. Within seconds, they had reformed into completely different structures, sleek, angular devices that pulsed with blue energy. "Impossible," breathed Talk. On Earth, Lee pressed the activation control. Engage Project Singularity. Show them what humanity is capable of. The reformed platforms suddenly released beams of concentrated energy, not toward the Imperial ships, but at points in empty space between them. Where the beams intersected, space itself began to warp and distort. "What is happening?" Talk demanded, his voice rising. "They're creating gravity wells," Sung reported, his voice shaking. "Artificial points of intense gravitational force." The Imperial fleet's perfect formation began to break as ships were pulled toward these invisible points of gravity. Vessels collided, shields flaring as they scraped against each other. "Pull back," ordered Talk. "All ships withdraw and regroup." But it was too late. The gravity wells intensified, growing stronger and more focused. Some of the smaller Imperial ships were being crushed, their hulls buckling under forces they were never designed to withstand. In the Earth Command Center, Lee watched the chaos with grim satisfaction. "Humanity will not be conquered," he said quietly. "Not today. Not ever." The battle had only just begun. The Imperial fleet advanced confidently toward Earth, their formation impeccable after millennia of military dominance. Admiral Talk watched with satisfaction as the first wave of fighters launched. His satisfaction turned to confusion, then horror, as the supposedly primitive human vessels executed maneuvers that defied the laws of physics themselves. They seemed to anticipate Imperial tactics before they were even implemented. "They're targeting our command ships," Sung shouted as 3 cruisers vanished in blinding flashes of light. "Impossible," Talk whispered. Then the real nightmare began. At strategic points throughout the battlefield, space itself began to warp and twist. Miniaturized black holes, weapons the Empire had theorized but never managed to create, appeared near key Imperial vessels, their gravitational pull tearing the mighty warships apart. "Retreat," Talk ordered, his voice hollow. "All ships, immediate retreat." Only the Imperial Fist and 11 other vessels escaped the slaughter. The massive view screen on the bridge of the Imperial Fist showed chaos unfolding across the battlefield. Admiral Talk gripped the railing of his command platform as another Imperial cruiser was torn apart by forces his mind could barely comprehend. "How are they doing this?" he demanded, his face pale with shock. "Their ships move as if they know our attack patterns before we execute them." Commander Sung worked frantically at his console. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the human vessels. They appear to be generating localized distortions in space-time." Across the battlefield, Earth's defense fleet, a collection of ships that had not existed 1 year ago, moved with impossible precision. They were smaller than the Imperial vessels, but demonstrated maneuverability that seemed to mock the laws of physics. In one of these ships, Commander Bo studied holographic projections of the Imperial fleet's movements. His vessel, the Swift Justice led a squadron of 10 interceptors on an attack run against an Imperial heavy cruiser. "Their attack algorithms are predictable," Bo told his crew. "The Empire has relied on the same tactics for centuries. Our simulations predicted this exact formation." His weapons officer nodded. "Singularity device charged and ready." "Deploy on my mark," Bo ordered. He watched as the Imperial cruiser adjusted its shields to defend against a frontal assault, exactly as the Earth simulations had predicted. "Mark." The Swift Justice released a small device that accelerated toward a point near the Imperial cruiser. When it detonated, it did not create an explosion. Instead, space itself collapsed into a swirling vortex, no larger than a human fist, a contained black hole. The gravitational forces tore at the Imperial cruiser. Its shields, designed to withstand energy weapons and physical impacts, offered no protection against the fundamental warping of space-time itself. Metal screamed as the massive ship was pulled apart, its reactor core breaching in a flash of blue light. On the bridge of the Imperial Fist Admiral Tak watched another display of devastating human technology. Our ships are being destroyed faster than they can report their damage, Sung reported, his voice shaking. The humans are deploying some kind of miniaturized singularity weapons. That's impossible, Tak muttered, though the evidence was playing out before his eyes. Our best scientists determined such technology was theoretically possible, but centuries beyond practical application. A junior officer approached, his uniform disheveled. Admiral, we've lost contact with the entire 3rd Division. That's 40 ships, sir. Tak stared at the tactical display. His magnificent fleet, the pride of the Empire, was being systematically destroyed. Ships that had conquered countless worlds were being torn apart like toys. Sir, Sung said urgently, I'm detecting energy buildups around our position. They're targeting the Imperial Fist *. In that moment, Admiral Tak felt something he had never experienced in his long career. Fear. Pure, primal fear. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were annihilating an Imperial attack force with technology that shouldn't exist. All remaining ships, he commanded, his voice now steady with the clarity of desperation. Emergency hyperspace jump. Coordinates Alpha 70. Execute immediately. Across the battlefield, the human fleet commander, Lee, watched from his flagship as the Imperial vessels began emergency jump preparations. They're running. His second-in-command, Mina, observed. Should we pursue? Lee studied the tactical display. Of the 300 Imperial ships that had entered the Sol system, nearly 90% had been destroyed or disabled. The rest were preparing to flee. No, Lee decided. Let them go. Let them tell the Empire what happened here. Sir, said the sensor officer, one of the escaping vessels is significantly larger than the others. Based on its energy signature, it's likely the command ship. Lee nodded. Good. Their admiral will carry our message back to his emperor. On the Imperial Fist *. Admiral Tak felt the familiar lurch as his flagship entered hyperspace. The view screen showed streaking stars replacing the nightmare they had just escaped. He sank into his command chair, his mind struggling to process what had happened. How had humans mastered singularity technology? How had they anticipated Imperial tactics with such precision? Damage report, he requested, his voice hollow. Sung approached with a datapad. The Imperial Fist * sustained damage to the outer hull and port shield generators. 11 other vessels escaped with us. The rest of the fleet is lost, sir. 300 ships reduced to 12. The most devastating defeat in Imperial history, delivered by a species that had been confined to their home planet just 1 year ago. Set course for Imperial Center, Tak ordered. Maximum speed. As the surviving Imperial ships fled through hyperspace, the human fleet regrouped around Earth. In the command center, Lee received congratulations from world leaders, but his expression remained serious. This was only their first attempt, he told his officers. The Empire won't accept this defeat. They'll return with a larger force. Mina nodded. Then we'll be ready. The singularity technology performed beyond expectations, and with the data we gathered from their ships, our next generation of defenses will be even more effective. Lee looked at the display showing Earth, peaceful and blue against the darkness of space. The Empire thought they found an easy conquest. Instead, they awakened something they never expected. What's that, sir? Asked a young officer. Lee's eyes reflected both determination and regret for the lives lost on both sides. Humanity united with a common purpose. There's nothing more dangerous in the universe. The Imperial Palace on Arcturus Prime had never before hosted representatives of a non-subjugated species. Yet here stood 3 humans, 2 males and 1 female, calmly facing Emperor Jin and the assembled High Council. We did not wish for conflict, explained Ambassador Quan, his voice steady. We merely responded to the threat presented. By developing weapons beyond even our capabilities, demanded Counselor Yun. You expect us to believe this was mere Reaction. The female human, Dr. G, stepped forward. Our species evolved through constant adaptation to threats. When challenged, our potential manifests at extraordinary rates. It's simply our nature. Emperor Jin studied the humans thoughtfully. And if we were to challenge you further? The third human, General Park, met his gaze evenly. Then we would advance further still, or we could choose another path. Cooperation, exchange of knowledge, mutual respect. 6 months later, representatives from 47 species gathered to sign the Galactic Compact. At its center stood humans, not as conquerors, but as peacekeepers and innovators. Species that had lived under imperial rule for millennia now looked to Earth for guidance. They still fear us, Jai remarked to Quan as they watched the ceremony. Perhaps, he agreed, but fear can transform into respect, given time. Throughout the galaxy, a new understanding emerged. Humans weren't godlike by nature. They simply became so when backed into a corner. Better to have them as allies than adversaries. The great hall of the Imperial Palace fell silent as Emperor Jin rose from his golden throne. His long robes whispered against the polished floor as he approached the three humans. The High Council members watched with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Ambassador Quan stood his ground, flanked by Dr. G and General Park. They had traveled across the stars to the heart of the empire that had tried to destroy their world. Now they stood as equals, not supplicants. Your weapons destroyed 288 of our finest warships, Emperor Jin said, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. Technology that our scientists claimed was centuries beyond practical use. General Park nodded slightly. We did not wish to use such measures. Your fleet gave us no choice. Councillor Hyun stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. You speak of choice. You could have surrendered, as thousands of worlds before you have done. Dr. G smiled slightly. That is not our way. Humans do not surrender when threatened. We adapt. We overcome. Emperor Jin circled the human delegation slowly. His 4,000-year rule had never faced such a challenge. The humans showed no fear, no awe at standing in the legendary Imperial Palace. They carried themselves as equals. Science Director Day tells me your adaptation abilities are unique, the Emperor said. That your neural pathways form new connections when faced with threats. That is correct, Jai replied. It served us well when our planet was young and filled with predators. Now it serves us against different kinds of threats. The Emperor stopped in front of Quan. And what do humans want now, Ambassador? Revenge. Territory. To replace our empire with your own. Quan shook his head. We want peace. Security. The freedom to develop without threat of conquest. We believe these are things all species desire. Bold words from a species that just demonstrated weapons that could threaten our entire empire, said Councillor Hyun. General Park turned to face him. If domination was our goal, we would not be here offering peace. We would be attacking your core worlds with the full might of our fleet. A murmur ran through the council members. The humans had built more of those terrible weapons. Ambassador Quan opened his hands in a gesture of openness. Emperor Jin, we propose a new relationship between our peoples. Not conqueror and conquered, but equal partners. We offer to share some of our technological advances in exchange for knowledge of the galaxy. And if we refuse? The Emperor asked quietly. Then we return to our system and continue to develop in isolation, Quan replied. But we will defend ourselves against any further aggression with increasing effectiveness. Emperor Jin returned to his throne and sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. What you propose is unprecedented. The Empire does not form alliances with younger species. Perhaps that is why your empire has begun to stagnate, Dr. G suggested. Fresh perspectives bring innovation. 6 months later, the Grand Assembly Hall on neutral territory hosted representatives from across the galaxy. 47 species, some imperial subjects for millennia, others newly contacted, gathered to sign the historic document. The Galactic Compact represented a fundamental shift in power. The Empire would maintain control of its territories, but a new council with representatives from all signatory worlds would handle dispute resolution and coordinate scientific exchange. Dr. Jai stood on a balcony overlooking the ceremony, Ambassador Quan at her side. "They still fear us," Jai remarked as she watched the Imperial representatives cast wary glances toward the human delegation. "Perhaps," Quan agreed, "but fear can transform into respect, given time." Below them, Emperor Jin and the human leader signed the final document. Applause echoed through the hall. "We could have conquered them," General Park said, joining them on the balcony. "After the battle, our scientists developed weapons twice as powerful." Jay nodded. "And if we had, we would have become exactly what we fought against: conquerors, oppressors. Instead, we become teachers," Quan said. "Already 17 worlds have requested human advisors for their research programs." General Park looked out at the assembled species. Tall, short, scaled, furred, some barely recognizable as sentient to human eyes. "Do you think they understand yet? What makes us different?" "Some do," Jai replied. "Science Director Daz certainly does. She's already collaborating with our research teams on Titan." Across the assembly hall, delegates from formerly subjugated worlds approached the human representatives, eager to establish relations with the species that had challenged the Empire and won. Not through superior numbers or ancient technology, but through sheer adaptability. Word spread throughout the galaxy in the following months. Stories of the Battle of Sol grew with each telling. Humans became both respected and feared, not godlike beings of unlimited power, but something perhaps more frightening. A species that transformed into exactly what it needed to be when threatened. A new era had begun. The age of conquest was ending. The age of cooperation had just begun. And at the center of it all stood humanity, not as conquerors, but as catalysts for a change that would transform the galaxy forever. The end.